They say most marriages die quietly, like a ceiling fan that keeps spinning long after the motor's fried. That's exactly how mine felt. Still moving, but powered by inertia, and maybe a few leftover habits we didn't care to question. My name's Neil Wallace. I'm 46, a financial consultant for people who don't know how to say no to boats they can't afford. I spend most of my week preventing midlife crises from turning into bankruptcies. I'm not flashy, not loud, and I never confuse impulse with strategy. That mindset used to work just fine in my marriage, too, until it didn't. Monica, my wife, used to be the kind of woman who remembered whether I preferred strawberry or raspberry jam. Now she barely remembered to eat at all. For months, she'd come home late from the elementary school where she worked as an administrator, talking vaguely about after-hours meetings and chaotic PTA moms. At first, I believed her. I'm not naturally suspicious. But when late nights turned into, "I'll just stay at my sister's tonight because of an early conference," even I started doing the mental math. You'd think a guy who helps people hide vacation homes from divorce attorneys would catch on quicker, but no. I chalked it up to hormones, burnout, or maybe just the slow decay of marriage. I mean, I'm not naive. I've seen love age into something resembling quiet, mutual resentment. But this felt different. Monica had become functional, like a secretary managing our household by checklist. Groceries bought, laundry folded, birthday cupcakes baked. But emotionally, she was on airplane mode. I didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't confront. I just did what I do best. I made a plan. Quietly, over the course of 6 months, I scraped together the money I'd been setting aside for a Monterey getaway, our 20th anniversary dream trip, and instead put it towards something far less romantic. A private investigation agency recommended by a divorce attorney friend of mine. Strictly photos, strictly eyes on. No GPS, no phone taps. I wanted the truth, not an espionage movie. The agency, of course, offered their premium discreet partner check, which, if you're wondering, is just a sanitized way of saying we'll catch them flirting over lattes and maybe more. I signed the dotted line and went back to my spreadsheets. 3 weeks later, I got a brown envelope. Inside, a few high-res shots of my wife sitting far too close to a man I'd never met. Athletic build, smug expression, hands that didn't belong anywhere near her waist. One shot was in the back parking lot of a Marriott, low rent even for cliches. They were laughing. One of those shoulder-tilting, neck-exposing laughs that women don't fake unless they want to be caught. I looked at the guy again. Athletic, casual, wearing a t-shirt that said Staff Retreat 2022, Camp Confidence. I remember thinking, God, even his shirt screams midlife crisis with extra reps. Turns out his name was Darren Colburn, a PE teacher at her school, married. Predictably, the kind of guy who probably still says bro without irony. I didn't feel rage, not even jealousy. What I felt was mildly offended, like someone had tagged my expensive leather briefcase with neon spray paint. I didn't say anything to Monica. Not at first. I just observed. Took notes mentally. There was a pattern. She'd leave earlier than needed. She started wearing perfume she hadn't touched in years. Sea Orchid, the one we bought in Cabo back when we still flirted in public. She locked her phone, switched from wine to seltzers, said she was trying to be more mindful. I waited. Let it cook. Sometimes patience is the loudest strategy. Then, one morning, she rushed through breakfast, fumbling through her bag, muttering something about a staff meeting that might go into the evening. I looked up from my coffee and said casually, "You know, I've been thinking about how love keeps time. You can feel it in the hours someone gives you, or doesn't." She blinked, just a moment, then smiled and kissed my cheek with all the enthusiasm of a political handshake. That evening, while she was gone, I placed the envelope on her pillow. No note, no theatrics, just evidence, like a tax audit of the heart. She came back around 9:30 p.m., humming something under her breath, holding a reusable shopping bag like she'd just liberated a Whole Foods. I stayed in the den, didn't say a word. 5 minutes later, she found the envelope. The house went silent, like the walls were bracing for impact. I heard her footsteps, slow, deliberate. She walked in holding the open envelope like it was radioactive. Her face wasn't guilty. It was furious. "You followed me?" "No," I said. "I subcontracted it." "You had me spied on, Neil? Really? That's low, even for you." I raised an eyebrow. "You disappeared. I wanted to find out where your inspiration came from when you said you were tired of family dinners and emotional intimacy." She stood there, speechless for once. Then came the tears. "It wasn't serious. I was just lost. I felt dead inside, Neil. He made me feel alive." I poured myself a drink. "You always did love poetic metaphors when caught." She looked away. "It's over now." "It isn't," I said. "Not unless I say it is." And then I did something even I didn't expect. I made her an offer. "Want to keep seeing him? Go ahead. But no more lies. We build a schedule. I want full transparency. Days, times, locations. I'll coordinate my calendar around your affair." She stared at me like I had 3 heads. "Neil." "What? The hell is this? Some kind of punishment?" I sipped my whiskey. "No, Monica, it's a case study." The next morning, she didn't speak to me. Not that I was expecting warm croissants and confessions, but still, Monica always had a routine. Wake early, make tea, read half a lifestyle article on her phone while pretending to enjoy quiet. Mornings. That morning, silence. The kind of silence you can hear even through the hum of the dishwasher. She barely touched her avocado toast. I wasn't hungry either, but I made a point of eating like I had an appetite. People think strength is in confrontation, but often it's in how confidently you butter your bread in front of someone who betrayed you. "I've got a late staff meeting tonight," she said finally, eyes on her plate. "Staff meeting," I repeated. "You're sure?" She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said, finishing my coffee. "Just making sure you label things accurately now. You know me. I track details for a living, especially when it comes to hours unaccounted for." She didn't answer. Just stared, like she couldn't figure out whether to be ashamed or offended. That's the thing about cheaters. They always think discovery is the real crime. That night, while she was at her meeting, I did something I hadn't done in years. I organized the garage, shelf by shelf, tool by tool. My own version of therapy. Every socket wrench in its place. Every unlabeled box marked, stacked, and cataloged. There's something cleansing about control. When I was done, I went upstairs, took a long shower, and placed a yellow envelope, same kind, same quiet weight, right back on her pillow. This one had new photos. Monica and Darren, in his Subaru this time, parked just outside the back entrance of the Marriott. They were sharing a takeout container of curly fries. Very romantic. In one shot, her hand was on his knee. His face was blurry, but hers, clear, laughing, lit up like she'd just won a weekend getaway from her actual life. She found the envelope the next morning. This time, no theatrics. She walked into the kitchen, dropped it on the counter, and said, "I told you it was over." "No," I said without looking up. "You told me it wasn't serious. That's different. You're keeping tabs on me? More like reviewing your performance. Jesus, Neil. It's not a betrayal, Monica. It's a report." That's when she cracked, just a little, slammed her purse down. "Do you think I like what's happening? Do you think I planned any of this?" "Of course not," I said calmly. "You're too disorganized for premeditation." Her jaw tightened. "I didn't sleep with him." I shrugged. "You kissed him. You touched him. You looked at him the way people look at dessert menus when they've been on a diet too long. The details don't matter. The betrayal's in the hunger." She sat down across from me, suddenly tired. Not performatively tired. The real kind. So what now? You going to divorce me? Nope, I said. I'm going to schedule you. That's when I opened my laptop and slid it across the table. On the screen, a shared Google Calendar titled Monica's Second Life, Beta Access. She blinked at it like I'd gone mad. You said you felt dead inside, that this made you feel alive, I continued. Fine. Explore it. But like adults. You get 2 slots a week. Not during dinner, not overnight. Sundays are off limits. And no emotional debris around the kids. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. I'm not interested in revenge, Monica. I'm interested in clarity. She stared at me for a long time. That's sick, I smiled. No, what's sick is sneaking around like teenagers with burner phones and discount hotel points. This is logistics. She didn't storm out, didn't cry. She nodded. Fine, I'll do your little experiment, but you don't get to act like you're some kind of saint. You've been emotionally gone for years. Fair, I said, but I didn't go looking for someone else to fix it. And so, bizarrely, we began the most civilized affair scheduling this side of a TED Talk. Darren, poor dim Darren, didn't even realize he'd been assigned calendar slots like a gym reservation. She logged every meeting, time, place, duration. The first entry read, Monday, 3:35 p.m., walk and coffee. I replied, approved. No hotel visits on Mondays. Maddie has soccer. I wasn't doing it to be cruel. I wasn't even doing it to control her. I was doing it because I'd spent too long in a fog, letting things happen to me. Now, I was paying attention, closely. And something strange began to happen. The more structure. I gave her infidelity, the less exciting it seemed, for both of us. Meanwhile, I found myself happy. Not because my wife was sneaking around under a new scheduling system, but because I had reclaimed my own headspace. I wasn't second-guessing anymore. I wasn't scrambling for signals and half-spoken excuses. I just knew. And knowing gave me back my time. I started cooking, real meals, shrimp risotto, grilled salmon with lemon-thyme glaze. The girls were shocked at first. Dad, you're like, trying now? Emily said, mouth half full of something I overcooked but didn't burn. I guess I am, I replied. Turns out I missed the memo that parenting requires presence. We went to the planetarium one Friday. Maddie got dizzy from the dome and spilled popcorn on some poor woman's lap. I laughed, loudly, freely. First real laugh in weeks, Monica noticed. She'd come home and see us watching movies, laughing, baking banana bread like it was some sitcom family redemption arc. And I could tell it got to her, not in a jealous way. More like an outsider realizing she'd been written out of a script. One evening, she lingered in the kitchen after dinner. I was drying dishes. She stepped behind me and touched my arm. Can I ask you something? Shoot. What would you say if I said I miss you? I kept wiping the plate. I'd say that's unfortunate timing. She smiled faintly. You're not going to make this easy, are you? Easy? Monica, I literally made you a schedule. Then I turned to her. You made your choice. I'm just adjusting to the new economy. The Google Calendar experiment, what I had half-jokingly labeled Operation Predictable Adultery, ran for almost 5 weeks before something unexpected happened. It stopped being hers. I mean that in the emotional sense. Monica would still dutifully log her engagements with Darren like she was inputting recurring dentist appointments. But I could see it in her face. She wasn't excited anymore. Something about structure, about being told exactly when and where she was allowed to cheat, drained the thrill from it. She'd come home, go through the motions, but the sparkle that once lit her staff meetings had gone dim. I didn't gloat. I didn't mock. That's not who I am. I simply adjusted. I created a second calendar. This one was just for me. I called it Dad Days, Live Beta. It wasn't about being petty, it was about being present. I scheduled time with Emily and Maddie like it was my new full-time job. Wednesday was waffle night. Saturdays we rotated between bowling and movie marathons. I even learned how to make French toast with orange zest because Maddie saw it in a TikTok and said, "I bet you can't do that, Dad." Challenge accepted and crushed. I started noticing things I had missed for years, like the fact that Emily only pretended to like volleyball because her best friend played, or that Maddie had started writing poems, real ones, not roses are red nonsense, but actual, raw, thoughtful lines about growing up and feeling invisible. I read every one she let me see. Monica noticed, too. One night she stood at the edge of the living room while I helped Emily with a history project on Cold War diplomacy. I was explaining the Berlin Wall using juice boxes and toothpicks, and Emily was laughing so hard she snorted. Monica stared like she was watching a stranger. "Inhabit her husband's body." "You've changed," she said later as we passed each other in the hallway. "Improved," I corrected. "There's a difference." She didn't like that. The next week, she stopped logging her meetings with Darren. At first, I thought it was a glitch. But no, she just stopped. I didn't ask why. I wasn't tracking to punish her. I just wanted honesty. Then came Thursday night. We were both home, both pretending not to exist in the same house. The girls were upstairs. I was reading on the couch. Monica came into the room and just stood there. "You know I could stop," she said. I looked up. "What, mid-sentence? I hope not." "You know what I mean." I closed the book. "Do I?" She sat down, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't look like someone playing a part. She looked like Monica, the one who used to quote Rumi when we fought, the one who made me grilled cheese with tomato slices on snow days. I thought, "It would make me feel free," she said quietly, but all it did was make me feel borrowed. I didn't speak. I didn't fall in love with him. I didn't even really like him. He was just not you. And for a while, that felt new. Still, I didn't speak. She looked at me like she was waiting for a sign. Maybe permission. Maybe punishment. Instead, I said, "Do you want something to drink?" "What?" I made ginger iced tea. That broke her. She laughed. Actually laughed. "You always were annoyingly calm." "It's my brand." I handed her a glass. She held it like it might explode. Later that night, she came into our bedroom. Not to reclaim anything, just to talk. Really talk. She told me she felt like she'd been aging out of her own life. Like she was slowly becoming background noise to everyone. Me, the kids, even herself. She didn't want a divorce, but she didn't know how to fix what had broken. I listened. No interruptions, no lectures. When she was done, I asked, "Do you want to stop seeing him because you regret it, or because it didn't give you what you hoped?" She looked at me and said, "Both." I nodded. That's at least honest. Then she surprised me. She reached out and touched my hand. Not seductively, not apologetically, just human. "I want to go to therapy. Alone, at first. Maybe later. Together. I need to find out why I let myself become someone I wouldn't trust." I respected that. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was rare. The next day, she canceled her meeting with Darren and removed his name from her contacts. She didn't make a show of it. No ceremonial deletion. Just a quiet reboot. And yet, I wasn't rushing toward reconciliation. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Forgiveness isn't a door you walk through. It's a hallway. And some days, it's endless. I still had doubts. Still had anger in the corners of my mind. But I also had something new. Focus. Not on her. On me. On the girls. On this strange, ugly, necessary process we were all stumbling through. That weekend, I took Emily and Maddie to an art supply store. We bought canvases and made our own family crest out of paint and magazine clippings. It was messy. It was brilliant. It was ours. When we hung it above the fireplace, Monica stood there quietly, her eyes shining, but not from tears. "Can I still be part of this?" she asked. I thought for a long second. Then I said, "You'll have to earn your spot. Same as the rest of us." It happened on a Thursday, not the day you'd expect your wife to detonate your family's emotional scaffolding. Thursday was always just the polite holding pen between midweek chaos and weekend fatigue. But there we were, sitting around the dinner table like a Norman Rockwell painting slightly askew. Grilled chicken, steamed broccoli, mashed potatoes. Maddie had shaped hers into a volcano. Emily was rambling about a science project. I was halfway through mentally calculating the yield curve spread when Monica put her fork down. "Girls," she said, voice level but trembling at the edges. "There's something I need to tell you." I looked up. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't glance at me like a co-conspirator. She just kept her eyes on the girls, who immediately sensed the change in air pressure. "I've made mistakes," she said. "Bad ones. I hurt your father. I hurt this family." Emily froze. Maddie stopped mid-bite, broccoli halfway to her mouth. "I was seeing someone," Monica continued. "Someone who wasn't your dad. It's over now. It shouldn't have happened, and I'm so sorry." There was no scream, no flying utensils, just the raw, stunned silence of two girls being forced to grow up in a single sentence. Then, Emily stood up and walked away, her plate untouched. Maddie followed. The hallway swallowed their footsteps. Monica sat still. She didn't cry, just looked down at her lap like it had something useful to say. "You could have let me do that," I said quietly. "Spared them the image?" "No," she whispered. "They needed to hear it from me. I wanted them to know I wasn't hiding anymore." I nodded once, slowly. "Okay." We cleaned the table in silence, loaded the dishwasher, wiped the counter. It felt oddly ritualistic, like preparing a house for sale, knowing you're not staying. Later that night, after the girls went to bed, she came into the living room. I was nursing a beer, half watching a baseball game I didn't care about. I called it off. "Completely?" she said. "With Darren?" She nodded. "A week ago. He didn't fight it. He wasn't in it for the long haul. I think he liked the secrecy more than he liked me." I sipped the beer. "What changed?" "I saw myself through your eyes, and it made me nauseous. That got a smirk out of me. I can be pretty harsh." "No," she said. "You were fair. That's worse." She sat down, not too close, like she respected the quarantine zone we'd built between us. "I've made an appointment with a therapist. I need to do this. Not for you. Not for the girls. For me." "Good," I said. "Start there." She looked around the room. "I miss our life." I looked back at her. "I miss it too, but I'm not sure it existed the way we thought it did." She exhaled, slow and heavy. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said, "but I don't trust you. And I'm not sure which is worse." We sat in silence. Mutual, comfortable silence. The kind you only earn after your world's already gone up in smoke. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I want to be someone the girls can look up to again. I don't know if I can fix this marriage, Neil, but I want to fix myself." And in that moment, I saw something new in her. Something rare. Not shame. Not desperation. Accountability. I finished my beer, set the bottle down, and stood. "Right now, they don't need a perfect mother," I said. "They need a consistent one." She nodded. I didn't say goodnight, didn't touch her, just walked upstairs to check on the girls. Emily was pretending to sleep. I kissed her forehead anyway. Maddie clung to a stuffed animal she'd long outgrown. I sat on the edge of the bed, looked around the room, and let the stillness settle in my chest. Downstairs, Monica remained at the kitchen table alone, not crying, not spiraling, just still, like she was finally letting herself feel the weight of everything she'd tried to outrun. And me? I wasn't broken. I wasn't bitter. I was clear, which is a luxury, really. Most people never get that. Somewhere around midnight, I went back. Downstairs for another beer. She was gone, probably in the guest room. The yellow envelope, the calendar, all the artifacts of the last few months, they were locked away now, not because I'd forgiven, but because I no longer needed proof. The truth had settled into the walls. I opened the fridge, grabbed a cold bottle, and leaned against the counter. My reflection in the microwave door stared back. Older, maybe, but not weaker. People think betrayal breaks you, but in my case, it sorted me. And the last thing I remember thinking that night before I went to bed was this: life didn't fall apart. It just reassembled itself, without the illusion.